Okay. Before we go on to some of our questions from our audience, one last question, and it kind of leads in to two questions in one, sort of. Were there any support groups, organizations, or online forums that were helpful for you after you had been diagnosed with endometriosis? So to help with moral support or to help you trying to find the right treatment, and then to go straight in after that. We know that both of you are ambassadors of Women with Endometriosis. So how did that start, and what do you guys actually do with that organization?
Okay, so with myself, I have to say this, and I'm gonna say this with from the bottom of my heart, that Heidi has actually been my biggest support, because she was there from when I started suspecting that I had endometriosis. Heidi came on my radio show as a guest, and then since then, that was in November 2017 we first spoke. She was on my show in January 2018, and since then we've grown to become really, really good friends. And I was then introduced that there's Facebook groups. So Women with Endometriosis Charity is one of them. Endo Revisited is one of them as well. So there are support groups out there, and social media does have a good purpose to it. And I came to learn about Women with Endometriosis Charity through the radio show, because another guest who came on with Heidi, Erin, she mentioned the charity. The founder of the charity, Carla Cressy, who used to be a glamorous model, got affected by the disease and set this charity up in May last year. And so we started to talk on the phone, and I then got involved, and we organised an awareness dinner which took place in November last year. We had leading specialists speak at the event, about 130 guests. Nothing of that kind has happened in the UK
and international
before.
doctors. We had doctors coming over from the US.
Yeah, the world-renowned Professor Kamran Najat came. And so my involvement now with Women with Endometriosis Charity is kind of like on a strategic level, because that's where my forte is as a business consultant. So kind of like giving that direction. And like Heidi mentioned earlier, we've been to Parliament.
Yeah.
And sat around a roundtable discussion with ministers who have an interest in health, trying to raise that awareness. And I do a lot of work as an ambassador, kind of like on a grassroots level as well, because I do a lot of community work and trying to talk more about endometriosis. So any opportunity I get, I'll talk about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm pretty much the same as Aamilah, but when I was first diagnosed, there wasn't much support out there. So it was a few years ago now. So I didn't really have that, so I had to research myself, and I relied on discussions that I had with doctors and specialists, and gathered information the hard way, really. There is a lot more now, but there wasn't at the time. And then we joined Women with Endometriosis with Carla Cressy, as Aamilah said, and they've been just tremendous at raising awareness, and the charity is committed to the promotion and protection of young women going through the disease and trying to get
So what the charity does,
it
focuses on making sure that these young women, these young girls and these women are supported, whether they're suspected of having endometriosis or whether they do have endometriosis, making sure they know about the things like the NICE guidelines, which is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence. There is a NICE guidelines on endometriosis, including guidelines for young girls under the age of 18, how they can get diagnosed, because we have directed so many women to their GP with that NICE guidelines. And also, you mentioned earlier on, go and see a gynecologist, but there are specialist endometriosis gynecologists which come under the British Society for Gynecological Endoscopy, where you can get a list. And so it's trying to make sure, as ambassadors, as a charity, that we are getting the women and advocating for them, directing to the right place to get the right diagnosis and treatment.
Great.